All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, man. Thank y'all so much for coming over. Where are all my 80s babies at? We here, y'all. We here. Hey, shout out to the Recollection Road channel. Again, I'll leave the link to their channel in the description so you guys can check out more videos yourselves. I would say go there, check them out, man. Subscribe, all that, because these videos, it's so refreshing to see this, to see stuff like this, man. I really appreciate their videos. If you grew up in the 80s, in the 1980s, you remember this part one. Oh, man, nostalgia, nostalgia, nostalgia. Let's see how much I remember. If I see some stuff in here I don't, I'm going to be upset. Because I'm like, why I never seen this? But then I was broke at the same time, so. All right, we ain't going to waste no more time. Let's jump right into it. What we got? Sounds like Stranger Things.
If you were a kid in the 1980s, you probably have fond memories of growing up during that time. You often spent afternoons at friends' houses, maybe even jumping on their trampoline or watching MTV. You also kept yourself busy by making mixtapes and binge-watching rented movies from Blockbuster. If this sounds like your childhood, then you will definitely relate to these 1980s memories.
Man, Mr. T, the Smurfs.
Do you remember being beyond excited to get up on Saturday mornings? The excitement of running to the TV and switching on.
Hold on. I got to see this. You got Mr. T, the Smurfs, Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, the Flintstones, Alvin and the Chipmunks. I don't know who is this woman right here? Is that Iceman? The Shirt Tails. What the hell was that? That was a Shirt Tails.
Excited to get up on Saturday mornings? The excitement of running to the TV and switching on Saturday morning cartoons and knowing you didn't have to go to school was a great feeling.
Thundercats.
Some of your favorite shows may have been Thundercats,
yes,
He-Man, the Care Bears, or maybe even Pee-wee's Playhouse or the Smurfs. You watched all of this while eating a big bowl of your favorite cereal.
Not that
and in those
one.
days, it was all about the sugary cereals.
Yeah.
Captain Crunch, Fruity Pebbles,
Ooh,
Cocoa Puffs,
talk to me.
and Cookie Crisp were just a few.
Sugar Smacks. Oh, man. Mr. T cereal. I remember that. Oh.
Your school days may be best remembered for playing the Oregon Trail, where you died from dysentery, lost cattle, and broke plenty of wagon wheels. When it was first introduced, this video game was meant to be educational, teaching kids about the grim realities in the American West during the 1800s, but it became so much more. When the teacher announced that it was time to play the Oregon Trail on the school computers, it felt like a gift from the heavens.
I don't know what that is.
During the 80s, every young girl wanted a Cabbage Patch Kid. The adoptable dolls were hard to come by, especially around Christmas. But once you got one, you were proud to show it off.
Is that DJ?
If you weren't able to get one of those pricey dolls, you may have settled for a Strawberry Shortcake or a Rainbow Bright. On the other hand, all the boys wanted a He-Man Masters of the Universe figure.
You're damn right.
In fact, they wanted to own all of the He-Man action figures, along with Castle Grayskull.
My sister had Cabbage Patch and Strawberry Shortcake.
The Rubik's Cube has been confounding kids and adults alike since its invention in 1974, but it was in its heyday in the early 1980s. In fact, one of the best-selling books of 1981 was The Simple Solution to Rubik's Cube, written by James Norse.
Oh, this is so cool.
If the Rubik's Cube didn't do it for you, then maybe you were one of the lucky ones to get the first Nintendo Entertainment System on your block. This was the era that established classics like Super Mario Bros.
Let me tell you something. My cousin, it's funny to think of it now because he's a sheriff, But back in the day, everybody who played duck hunt, the thing was, how far can you shoot from? And my cousin would sit in a chair, and you had the cord attached, and he would be leaning, go back as far as he could. And I remember him pulling the Nintendo off the dresser and broke it, trying to shoot from a far distance. Boy, the Nintendo, man. I know you got PlayStation, Xbox, and all that stuff, but boy, playing like the Nintendo or Sega Genesis back in the day, oh, those were so fun. What a great video.
The Legend of Zelda, Metroid, and so many more. And if you had trouble getting a game to load, all you had to do was blow the dust out of the cartridge, and it seemed to work every time.
Yep, look at that TV, man.
Friday nights were, for many, a Blockbuster night. Stepping into that brightly lit Blockbuster store and seeing an endless selection of movies was a true thrill.
Yes.
It wasn't uncommon to leave with a stack of movies that would last you all weekend, and you could even get some popcorn or candy to go along with it.
The Evil Dead.
Maybe you were one of the ones that saved up your quarters all week so that you could head over to the arcade to play the newest games and hang out with friends.
The E.T. shirt.
You tried your best to make it on the leaderboard whenever you played Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Asteroids, or Donkey Kong. During the 1980s, these dimly lit buildings would be packed with people, plunking quarters into those magical machines for hours on end.
Man.
Who didn't own a few Garbage Pail Kids during the 1980s? These funny cards became a big hit because they depicted children that looked like Cabbage Patch Kids, but they had creatively rhyming names. From the grossest to the scariest, Garbage Pail Kids were always good for a laugh. But the gum that came inside the packs was some of the hardest, most stale gum you may have ever chewed on.
He ain't lying. Oh.
Growing up in the 80s, you may have also been an avid reader. Book series like The Babysitter's Club, Sweet Valley High, or Choose Your Own Adventure were some of the very best the decade had to offer. Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary books became must-reads, and a big incentive for reading all these books was a free pizza from the Pizza Hut Book It campaign.
Yeah, I'm not a reader. I never was a reader.
It seemed like every kid growing up in the 1980s was a huge wrestling fan. One of the true forces behind the popularity of the sport was Hulk Hogan. Everyone wanted to be a part of Hulkamania.
True.
And the Hulkster had this generation of kids believing that anything was possible through the power of training, prayers, and vitamins.
And leg drops.
If Hogan wasn't your guy, you may have been rooting for the Macho Man Randy Savage and the beautiful Miss Elizabeth.
Dang.
MTV was an important part of the pop culture of this time. During the channel's initial rise and 1980s heyday, it helped to kickstart the careers of stars like Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, and even Michael Jackson. In those days, they actually played music videos, so you would have to sit through hours and hours of videos until they played the one you wanted.
I really, honestly, I didn't, because of that time when they started to put out videos like that, I really wasn't watching. And I'm just being honest, man, because we were broke and it was rough. We were struggling. I just remember a lot of times we didn't have electricity. And at my grandma's house, we had a big old TV, but the small one on top, and it was in black and white. I don't really recall watching any MTV until later on in my life when I met my wife. I'm just thinking like it was like not even really music videos. Yeah.
Another pivotal moment came in 1983, when Michael Jackson did the moonwalk for the first time while singing Billie Jean.
That was...
And it became his signature move. From that moment on, every kid in the United States decided they wanted to practice that backward glide, which looked deceptively easy when Michael Jackson did it.
I learned how to do it.
To look cool in school, middle and high schoolers across the country began tight-rolling their jeans, growing out their mullet, and teasing their bangs to the sky with a can of Aquanet hairspray. These same kids would also spend hours listening to the radio and waiting for the local station to play their favorite song, all while resting one finger on the record button of the cassette player. There was an art form to crafting the perfect mixtape, as there was only so much time on each side of the cassette. The Sony Walkman made listening to these tapes easy if you were on the go. Otherwise, they would be a gift for your significant other.
Look at that.
The California Raisins were a claymation blues band that not only graced commercials and animated specials, but they also made it to toy stores and the fast food restaurant Hardee's. Not only could you get these collectible figures if you bought a cinnamon raisin biscuit from the drive-thru, but they also put them on lunchboxes, t-shirts, comic books, and posters.
Oh, do I remember them?
The 1980s had arguably the most memorable sitcoms of any decade,
Punky Brewster?
with shows like Knight Rider, Punky Brewster, The Wonder Years, Alf, and The Cosby Show.
Bill.
But when it came to movies, there was nothing better than a John Hughes film. If you were a teenager during this time, you were able to relate to all of his flawed characters. Being a lovable loser like Ducky was an achievable goal. Or maybe you too wore your insecurities on your sleeve, like the girl next door, Samantha Baker.
Great movie.
Movies like The Breakfast Club,
Yes.
16 Candles, and Pretty in Pink were so relatable for so many, and John Hughes was able to capture that period of time perfectly.
Great movie.
The fads and trends that were created during the 1980s are hard to beat. When we see them, we instantly recognize that they were part of a colorful decade that has started to make a comeback. These moments in time were for many the absolute best time to grow up. So let me know in the comments your own memories of the 1980s. If you enjoyed this video, check out the description for links that help support the channel. And
hey man, that warmed my heart. Oh, that warmed my heart, man. You know what's really crazy though? I didn't really get to experience the 80s like I should have. Because like I said, we were going through some rough times. I think when I was I was born in 1980. All right. And things, I think, started to get rough at the age of 7 or 8. But for those first 7 years, I mean, I was just doing stuff like, we lived in apartment buildings. I was just doing stuff like riding my bike, making mud, something, I don't know. I wasn't doing nothing super special, but it was special in that moment. But as I think about it, as a kid, I'd never been to an arcade before. I remember arcades, but I'd never been into an arcade before. I mean, I played video games. I remember when we got a Nintendo, I was so excited. What else? It was a lot of stuff that I knew about, but I didn't get to experience it. Matter of fact, this channel has a video that says, if you had this, you were rich growing up, or people thought you were rich. I want to check that one out. Because they were saying it was a lot of stuff a lot of people didn't get to have that. Yeah, we going to check that one out. But again, if y'all want to see me do part 2, I don't know how many parts there are, but let me know. Let me know in the comments. But I want to check that other video out. So again, appreciate all the love and support with you guys coming over. Make sure you check out their channel. Right here, it just says subscribe and like. They got Patreon, all that, man. I love channels like this because it just brings me back to when life was simple, I guess you can say. All right, peace out.